They mocked a Muslim girl reading the Quran in a park. But 60 seconds later, the sky changed, and everyone fell to their knees. It was a calm, sunny Saturday afternoon in Riverside Park, upstate New York. Families were out enjoying the day. Children were laughing as they played, and the air was filled with the smell of fresh grass and blooming flowers. The park felt safe, the kind of place where people could relax without worry. 17-year-old Sarah Mitchell sat on her favorite bench under a huge old oak tree. She had always loved that spot, its quiet shade giving her a sense of calm. But today, Sarah wasn't just relaxing, she was reading. In her hands was a small Quran with an English translation. She had converted to Islam just 6 months ago, and though her family didn't completely understand her decision, Sarah had finally found what she had been searching for all her life: peace, purpose, and a connection with God. She was reading Surah An-Nur, chapter 24, verse 35, the verse about divine light. Her soft voice whispered the words as she followed the text carefully, her simple blue hijab framing her serene face. To anyone passing by, she was just a young woman reading a book. But 5 teenagers walking through the park saw something else. The leader of the group was Tyler, an 18-year-old high school football player. Popular and confident, he always wanted to be the center of attention. Tyler had his phone out, recording everything. "Hey, look at this," he shouted to his friends. "Someone's reading a terrorist handbook." His friends laughed loudly. Among them, Brittany also pulled out her phone, eager to record. Sarah didn't look up. She had faced ignorance before, and she had learned that patience was often the best response. She continued reading quietly, hoping they would leave her alone. "I'm talking to you," Tyler said, stepping closer. His shadow fell across Sarah's Quran, and she finally met his gaze. Her eyes were calm but firm. "I'm just reading. Please leave me alone," she said softly. Tyler sneered. "What are you reading? How to build, you know?" His friends erupted in laughter again. People in the park started noticing. Some looked away, uncomfortable. Others stopped to watch, curious about the unfolding scene. An elderly woman sitting nearby got up, clearly intending to intervene, but her husband gently pulled her back. "Don't get involved," he whispered. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the lessons from her Islamic studies class. When ignorance approaches, respond with peace. She opened her eyes, looked at Tyler, and said, "Peace be upon you. I hope you have a blessed day." Tyler's face twisted in anger. He wasn't used to being dismissed. "You think you're better than us?" he shouted, then did something shocking. He knocked the Quran out of Sarah's hands. It fell to the ground, pages fluttering in the wind like fragile wings. Something shifted in that moment, not just in the park, but in the very atmosphere. People later described a strange feeling, like the air itself was holding its breath. Sarah bent down carefully, picking up her Quran. She dusted it off, treating it with the reverence it deserved. Sitting back down, she opened the book and began reading out loud. "Allahu nur us-samawati wal ard," she recited, her voice steady. Tyler and his friends continued recording and laughing, unaware that something extraordinary was about to happen. Jessica, Tyler's girlfriend, suddenly pointed to the sky. "Tyler, look up," she said softly. At first, no one understood what she meant. The sky had been clear all afternoon, but now directly above Sarah's bench, clouds were forming, not drifting in from the horizon, but appearing right there, swirling slowly at first, then faster. People across the park stopped in their tracks. Children pointed. Adults pulled out their phones. Robert, a 73-year-old Vietnam veteran, stood frozen. He had seen a lot in his life, but nothing like this. The clouds began to take shape, forming patterns that looked like Arabic calligraphy. The letters seemed to glow with a light from within, as if the sun itself was shining through them. The scene was breathtaking, and it didn't matter what religion someone followed. Everyone felt it. Something divine was happening. Sarah stopped reading and looked up in awe. A nearby Christian school teacher, Margaret, whispered to her husband, "That's writing." Actual writing in the sky. Her husband, usually a skeptic, could only nod, speechless. Then a sound filled the park. It wasn't coming from any one place. It was everywhere at once. A low, deep hum, resonant and powerful, like the sound of an organ in a cathedral. Tyler dropped his phone, his hands trembling. Brittany started crying. One by one, the teenagers fell to their knees, not out of fear, but because something deeper, primal, commanded it. Even the elderly woman who had wanted to intervene earlier was now standing with her hand on her heart, tears streaming down her face. "Lord have mercy," she whispered. The calligraphy in the sky lasted exactly 40. After the miraculous day in Riverside Park, life slowly began to shift for everyone involved. Tyler and his friends could no longer ignore what they had witnessed. The image of the glowing Arabic words in the sky, the strange humming that seemed to come from nowhere, and the single beam of sunlight shining on Sarah haunted them. It wasn't just awe. They felt something inside them change, a quiet stirring they didn't yet understand. Tyler couldn't stop thinking about Sarah. The way she had responded with patience and peace, even after he had mocked her, kept replaying in his mind. He realized how wrong he had been, how immature, and how little he had thought about the consequences of his actions. He began to wonder about faith, about God, and about the idea that there might be a force in the universe far greater than him, far greater than anything he had ever considered. A week after the incident, the teenagers returned to Riverside Park. Sarah was already there, sitting calmly on her bench. Tyler approached cautiously, unsure of how to even begin. I need to understand," he said. "I need to know what happened. I want to know about your faith." Sarah smiled softly, not with judgment but with warmth. "Islam teaches that God is closer to us than our jugular vein. He sees everything, hears everything, and protects those who turn to him," she explained simply. Tyler listened, captivated. Over the next several weeks, the teenagers began visiting the local Islamic center. They asked questions, listened to lectures, and read the Quran themselves. They didn't just want to understand Sarah, they wanted to understand what they had witnessed. They discovered that faith wasn't about fear or punishment. It was about connection, peace, patience, and mercy. It was about standing firm in the face of ignorance, just like Sarah had done. Meanwhile, news of the event spread across the community. People who had witnessed the sky miracle spoke about it with friends and neighbors. Margaret, the Christian school teacher, organized an interfaith dialogue group to explore what had happened and to discuss faith, tolerance, and understanding. She invited Muslims, Christians, Jews, and people of all beliefs to attend. Her husband, who had always been skeptical, admitted that he could not explain what he had seen. "There's something divine here," he said quietly. Tyler's grandmother, a devout Catholic, also had a hand in their transformation. She told him she had prayed for a miracle, asking God to guide him toward humility and understanding. "I never expected it to look like this," she said, tears in her eyes, "but God answers prayers in his own way." Tyler reflected on her words. He realized that faith wasn't just about rituals. It was about how one treated others, about humility, and about recognizing a higher power in everyday life. 3 of the 5 teenagers eventually decided to take the Shahada, their declaration of faith in Islam. The other 2 did not convert, but they became advocates for religious tolerance, speaking out against bullying, prejudice, and ignorance. The experience changed them fundamentally, teaching them that witnessing a miracle isn't just about seeing, it's about what it inspires in your heart. Sarah's story became a symbol in the community. She continued to sit on the same bench in Riverside Park, reading her Quran, yet she was no longer alone. People came from across the state, even the country, to hear her story, to sit where the miracle had occurred, and to learn about patience, faith, and divine protection. They didn't just see a girl reading, they saw courage, resilience, and the profound impact of believing in something greater than themselves. Even veterans like Robert, who had experienced the harshest realities of life, found themselves moved. "I've seen the worst of humanity in war," he said during an interfaith meeting, "but that day in the park, I saw the divine. I felt it, and it changed me." His words resonated with everyone present, reminding them that miracles aren't only in books, they happen in the real world, sometimes quietly, sometimes with overwhelming force. Sarah never claimed credit. She always emphasized that the story wasn't about her. It was about faith, patience, and trusting God. The calligraphy that had appeared in the sky had been reviewed by scholars, who confirmed it spelled out a phrase from the Quran: "Indeed, Allah is with those who are patient." The miracle reminded everyone that divine protection exists, especially for those who remain steadfast in goodness, no matter how small or alone they feel. And so, Riverside Park became a place of reflection. People of all backgrounds came together to remember that day, to share stories of faith, and to find courage in their own lives. The teenagers, once mockers, became students of understanding. The community, once indifferent, became more compassionate. And Sarah, sitting quietly under her oak tree, became a living rem. After the teenagers began learning more about Islam, their lives started to change in ways they never expected. Tyler, once confident and reckless, began to reflect on his actions and words. He realized that mocking Sarah had not only hurt her, but had also left him feeling empty inside. Studying the Quran, asking questions, and listening to the local imam taught him that true strength comes from patience, humility, and respect. His friends followed a similar path, discovering that faith was not just about rituals, but about how they treated others every day. Meanwhile, Sarah continued to be a quiet but powerful example of patience and courage. People came from all over just to sit beside her under the oak tree, wanting to feel the calm and reassurance she exuded. Children, adults, and even skeptics like Robert visited the park, many recording their own experiences and sharing them online. Each story spread further, inspiring people from different backgrounds to reflect on kindness, tolerance, and the unseen ways God protects those who are sincere and patient. The miracle in the sky also sparked something bigger in the community. Margaret, the Christian teacher, helped organize monthly interfaith meetings, bringing together Muslims, Christians, Jews, and others. Conversations that might have been tense turned into opportunities to learn, grow, and appreciate each other's beliefs. Even people who had been indifferent or skeptical began to show more compassion and understanding. The teenagers, once arrogant and dismissive, became advocates for religious tolerance, helping others learn that faith is about love, patience, and respect for all people. Months passed since that unforgettable day in Riverside Park, but the impact of the miracle continued to grow. Sarah still sat on her bench under the oak tree, reading her Quran. However, she was no longer alone. People from across the country came to hear her story, to witness the place where heaven had touched earth, and to learn about faith, patience, and divine protection. Every visitor left inspired, realizing that courage and belief could create ripples far beyond what they could see. The teenagers' lives had changed completely. Tyler, Brittany, and their friends had grown more compassionate and reflective. 3 of them had embraced Islam, while the others became vocal supporters of religious tolerance. They shared their experiences at schools, community events, and online platforms, encouraging others to treat everyone with respect, no matter their beliefs. Their transformation reminded everyone that even those who make mistakes can grow when they open their hearts to understanding and forgiveness. The interfaith group Margaret organized flourished. Muslims, Christians, Jews, and people from other faiths met monthly, sharing experiences, discussing beliefs, and learning from one another. The meetings strengthened the community, creating bonds that transcended religious differences. Even veterans like Robert, once skeptical and hardened by life's hardships, felt renewed hope. "I've seen cruelty and suffering," he said during a gathering, "but what I witnessed in the park reminded me that goodness and divine presence exist, even in ordinary places." Sarah's story became more than a local legend. It became a symbol of patience, faith, and divine protection. Scholars confirm the calligraphy in the sky spelled out a verse from the Quran: "Indeed, Allah is with those who are patient." People of all backgrounds took the lesson to heart. They learned that miracles might not always be visible, but acts of faith, kindness, and courage could invite blessings and change lives in ways no one could predict. In the end, Riverside Park was no longer just a place for picnics and play. It had become a place of reflection, learning, and inspiration. Sarah continued her quiet routine of reading, but her presence had sparked a wave of understanding, tolerance, and faith that spread far beyond the park. People who once mocked, doubted, or ignored others were now learning to listen, respect, and believe in something greater than themselves. The story of Sarah and the miracle in the sky reminds everyone Faith, patience, and courage can protect the innocent, humble the arrogant, and inspire change. It shows that God watches over those who remain steadfast, and even in the face of ignorance or cruelty, divine protection and guidance are always present. Whether Muslim, Christian, Jewish, or of any belief, the lesson is universal. Stand firm, act with patience, and trust that something greater is always near.